Emily Hart had forged one of America's premier technology empires entirely from the ground up, earning a reputation among journalists as an unyielding titan who simply did not know how to fail. Investors revered her sharp, fearless decisions, while competitors quietly dreaded her razor-sharp business intuition. Yet, beneath the polished veneer of high-profile headlines, Emily harbored a profound, silent grief that no amount of wealth could ever soothe. 5 years prior, a catastrophic car accident had robbed her only daughter, 6-year-old Lily, of the use of her legs. The finest medical minds across the globe, exorbitant therapies, and cutting-edge treatments had all culminated in the same devastating verdict. Lily would likely never walk again. Still, Emily refused to surrender. She poured millions into hunting down international specialists, desperately clinging to the hope of a miracle. Every morning, she put on a brave smile for Lily. Every night, she wept in solitude, questioning why fate had dealt such a cruel hand to her little girl. Despite her affliction, Lily's spirit remained remarkably bright. She found joy in drawing, devouring adventure books, and bringing laughter to everyone in her orbit. Frequently, she turned to comfort her mother instead of seeking pity. "Mom," Lily would murmur with a soft, reassuring smile. "It's all right. Perhaps God has a different journey mapped out for me." Those gentle words only deepened the ache in Emily's chest. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, Emily attended a charity luncheon hosted in an opulent downtown hotel ballroom, an event dedicated to funding children's hospitals where she stood as the primary donor. She had nearly canceled, given that Lily was still fatigued from an exhausting therapy session. However, Lily insisted. "You always tell me that helping others grants us strength," she urged. "Let's go." Inside, the venue glittered under crystal chandeliers against a backdrop of polished marble and meticulously adorned tables, drawing business magnates, celebrities, and politicians to celebrate philanthropy while cameras flashed incessantly. Emily carefully guided Lily's pink wheelchair through the throng, trading polite pleasantries. Everyone recognized the powerhouse tech founder and respected her resilience, though many cast pitying glances toward the child beside her. Neither Emily nor the bustling crowd took notice of a casually dressed man quietly dining by himself near the rear of the room. His faded gray t-shirt and worn jeans set him apart from the affluent assembly. Beside his chair rested a modest backpack and a folded construction helmet. His name was Daniel Brooks, a widowed single father and former Navy SEAL who now worked in construction to provide for his young son. He had dropped by simply because the hotel restaurant offered an affordable lunch special after a grueling morning shift. Daniel had no inkling that within moments, an unexpected reaction from a little girl would alter the course of all their lives forever. The luncheon proceeded amid polite chit-chat, the ringing of crystal glasses, and waves of applause as donors pledged substantial sums. Emily maintained her gracious composure, posing for photographs and expressing gratitude to supporters. Years of commanding boardrooms had taught her how to mask her inner turmoil behind an air of calm authority. Lily, however, grew restless. "Mom, might we look around?" she whispered. Emily nodded, slowly maneuvering the chair between tables. Lily adored observing people, particularly families sharing a laugh. Though she rarely complained, moments like these threw her lost freedoms into sharp relief. The simple desire to run, dance, and play unhindered. As they neared the far edge of the ballroom, Lily abruptly went still, her gaze locking onto the lone man seated by the window. He wore no bespoke suit. Instead, a plain gray t-shirt, scuffed jeans, and work boots caked with dried cement defined his attire. His hands were calloused, bearing the marks of honest physical labor. Catching the little girl staring, Daniel Brooks offered a warm, welcoming smile before turning back to his meal. There was nothing extraordinary about the exchange. Yet the serenity in his expression made Lily feel inexplicably safe. Emily gently began to steer the wheelchair away, assuming her daughter's curiosity had simply been piqued. Then the impossible occurred. Lily gripped the armrests of her chair with sudden, fierce determination. Her breathing quickened as she kept her eyes glued to Daniel. "Mom!" she whispered. Before Emily could react, Lily leaned forward, hoisting herself upward with trembling arms. Instinctively, Emily reached out. "Lily, sweetheart, be careful." To her utter disbelief, Lily managed to stand. Her legs shook violently, as if every muscle struggled to remember its purpose, yet she remained upright. Nearby conversations screeched to a halt. A waiter froze mid-stride, balancing a tray of drinks, while guests turned one by one in stunned silence. Color drained from Emily's face. "Lily!" But instead of collapsing, Lily took a hesitant step forward, followed by another. Each movement looked agonizingly difficult, yet she pressed on, tears spilling over her lashes. Daniel rose from his chair instantly. His military training warned him against rushing, which might startle her. Instead, he slowly dropped to one knee several feet away, keeping his voice low and steady. "You're doing wonderfully," he said gently. "Take it nice and easy. No rush at all." Lily gazed straight at him, smiling through her tears as though she had known him for a lifetime. With one final surge of effort, Emily stood paralyzed, unable to process what was unfolding before her. Her daughter was standing, shaky and trembling, yet standing. For years, she had envisioned this exact scenario in her dreams, only to wake to the crushing reality that nothing had changed. Yet now, amid a crowded charity gala, the impossible had materialized unannounced. "Lily," Emily whispered, terrified that raising her voice might shatter the moment. "Sweetheart, does it hurt?" Lily slowly shook her head, tears streaking her face alongside a radiant smile. "My legs feel strange," she confessed. "They're shaking, but there's no pain." Daniel remained knelt a short distance away, careful not to intrude. Years of tactical discipline had taught him that panic only worsens high-stakes moments, and his tone remained an anchor of calm. "Don't rush," he coached softly. "Just breathe." Lily nodded, as though instinctually trusting him. Carefully shifting her weight, a pediatric neurologist attending the fundraiser stepped forward, introducing himself to Emily. "May I examine her for a moment?" Emily nodded eagerly. After asking a few brief questions, the doctor checked Lily's lower limbs, maintaining a thoughtful expression throughout. "This does not erase her underlying condition," he clarified gently. "Neurological recovery can occasionally manifest gradually, though it remains rare after so many years. Emotional stimulation, persistent therapy, and sheer willpower can unlock abilities once thought lost. She will need comprehensive testing, but today is an immensely encouraging sign." Relief washed over Emily, mingling with a haze of bewilderment. It was no supernatural miracle, but it offered a spark of hope she hadn't felt in half a decade. Turning to Daniel, she asked, "I don't understand why she walked to you." Daniel offered a modest smile. "I don't quite understand it either." Pausing for a moment, he added, "During my service overseas, I spent time around children who had survived unimaginable trauma. I learned something vital from them. They could always sense who approached with fear and who approached with peace. Perhaps Lily simply felt she was safe." Emily studied his features. There was no trace of ego, no bid for credit, only quiet sincerity. "You were in the Navy?" Daniel nodded. "I served 20 years as a Navy SEAL before retiring. After my wife passed, I came home to raise my boy. Nowadays, I'm just a construction worker trying to build an honest life. Emily looked down at the rugged hands that had once handled military ordnance and now hoisted timber and bricks. She realized that true strength rarely needs to broadcast itself. Sometimes, it wears scuffed work boots instead of polished leather. As Lily looked up at Daniel with another bright smile, Emily felt something foreign bloom in her chest. Not absolute certainty, but a genuine, anchoring hope for tomorrow. The fundraiser drew to a close under entirely unexpected circumstances. Rather than discussing donations or business ventures, every conversation buzzed with wonder over Lily's progress. Emily thanked the guests for their warmth and slipped away quietly before reporters could corner her, determined not to let her daughter's most hopeful day become tomorrow's tabloid headline. The ensuing week was a blur of medical evaluations. Specialists' repeated scans, strength assessments, and neurological tests. While the physicians maintained cautious optimism, they unanimously agreed on one milestone. Lily had reclaimed voluntary movement absent for years. They explained that recovery from severe nerve trauma can occasionally spark after prolonged intensive therapy, particularly in developing young bodies. It was not a full cure, but it was a doorway opening. Listening closely, Emily finally grasped a truth that had taken years to internalize. Every grueling therapy session, every difficult exercise Lily had wanted to abandon, had mattered. Progress had been unfolding beneath the surface all along, invisible to the eye. A few days later, Emily invited Daniel and his son, Ben, to lunch, not at a high-end establishment, but at the modest neighborhood cafe Daniel frequented after work. "I wanted to thank you properly," Emily said. Daniel smiled politely. "I hardly think I deserve the praise." "Perhaps not," Emily countered. "But you reminded both of us what calm, hope, and kindness look like." Soon, Ben and Lily struck up a fast friendship, giggling over coloring books and board games while the adults conversed. Emily learned that Daniel rarely spoke of his military past unless pressed. Upon leaving the SEALs, he had chosen simplicity, convinced that being present for his son outweighed any pursuit of recognition or fortune. "You've built an incredible company," Daniel remarked. Emily smiled. "And you've raised an extraordinary young man." Ben beamed proudly at the compliment, drawing a laugh from his father. Months rolled by, and Lily's condition continued to trend upward. Initially, she managed only a few cautious steps with a walker. Later, she progressed to short distances using leg braces alongside physical therapy. Every micro-victory felt monumental, given the patience required to achieve it. Emily underwent a transformation of her own, donating millions to establish rehabilitation programs for children whose families could not shoulder the burden of long-term care, mindful of how many parents surrender to despair simply due to financial walls. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the inaugural rehab center, Emily addressed the gathered medical staff, therapists, and families, concluding with words that resonated deeply within the room. "I used to believe miracles arrived all at once," she shared. "Now I know they often arrive one small step at a time, carried forward by resilience, compassion, and those who quietly choose to help others without asking for anything in return." The audience erupted in applause, while Daniel simply smiled from the back of the room beside Ben, seeking no applause of his own. Watching Lily step confidently onto the stage was reward enough. And for Emily, that quiet display of humility proved to be the most profound lesson of all. True heroes are measured neither by titles, fortunes, nor past accolades, but by the enduring hope they kindle in the hearts of others.